Hello and welcome to NewsX World. I'm Pia and you're watching the World Report, and here are the headlines. Israeli security forces have received the remains of 3 hostages from Gaza, identified as Asaf Hamami, Oz Daniel, Omer Neutra. The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office has stated that the bodies were handed over via the Red Cross to the IDF earlier. Israeli police has arrested a former military prosecutor. This arrest follows a scandal sparked by a leaked video showing IDF soldiers sexually abusing a Palestinian detainee. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has asserted that Hamas is determined to stick to the Gaza truce as both sides are trading blame over ceasefire violations. China has denied United States President Donald Trump's claims that it has tested nuclear weapons in secret. China's foreign ministry has asserted that it is a responsible nuclear weapons state and has always upheld a self-defense nuclear strategy and abided by its commitment to suspend nuclear testing. As the US continues flexing its muscles in the Caribbean, Trump has downplayed the idea of engaging in an all-out war with Venezuela. However, he has suggested that President Nicolas Maduro's days are numbered. US President Donald Trump has doubled down, stating that the US military could deploy troops in Nigeria or even carry out airstrikes to stop the alleged killings of Christians in the country. As fighting in Sudan spreads eastwards from Darfur into North Kordofan, the United Nations has informed that 36,800 people have fled their homes. This mass displacement follows last week's capture of Al-Fasher by the RSF. At least 20 people have lost their lives and more than 150 have been reported to be injured after a 6.3 magnitude earthquake struck northern Afghanistan. Well, viewers, those are the headlines and our top focus. Israel's former top military prosecutor, Major-General Yifat Tomer-Yerushalmi, has been arrested following her resignation amidst a growing scandal over leaked footage showing soldiers allegedly abusing a Palestinian detainee. Israel's Internal Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir has confirmed her arrest, stating that extra precautions are being taken to ensure her safety while in custody. The former Advocate General had been under criminal investigation for authorizing the release of surveillance footage from the STE Teman detention facility, where Hamas suspects and other Palestinians are held. The video, aired by local Israeli media, appeared to show soldiers assaulting a detainee, prompting public outrage and political uproar. Right-wing politicians have accused the army's legal department of undermining soldiers, while human rights groups have condemned Israel's handling of prisoner abuse cases. Tomer-Yerushalmi has defended her decision, stating that even during wartime, violence must be investigated. Her resignation and arrest come as Israel faces mounting international criticism over detainee mistreatment and its conduct in Gaza, where ceasefire talks and prisoner exchanges, of course, are underway. With us on the broadcast is Mr. Peter Baum, foreign editor of Weekly Blitz, joining us from London. Thank you so much for taking our time and speaking to us on NewsX World. This is a very delicate case that has come to light. This video has now gone viral on social media as well. It allegedly shows IDF soldiers abusing a Palestinian detainee. News had come in just a while back that Israel's former top military prosecutor, Major-General Yifat Tomer-Yerushalmi, had played a key role in leaking this video as well. Now we know that she has been arrested. What does this say about Israel's handling of this current situation, this current case? Because there has been criticism in the past as far as cases regarding sexual abuse by officers coming to light.
Yeah, I think all this does is enhance Israel's reputation as a functioning democracy. Can you imagine similar things happening in Syria under Assad or under any Muslim country where prisoners who are regularly abused and tortured and killed, as is in the case of Syria, Iran, Afghanistan, and numerous other Arab and Muslim countries where something like this comes to light, Israel will go through the normal procedures, and where there is proven abuse of any prisoners, whether they're Palestinian prisoners or Israeli criminals, then it will go through the normal Israeli court procedures, and should do. And this, as I say, just underlines Israel's reputation as a functioning democracy when you compare how other nation states behave and how they treat their prisoners. Even in the UK, prisoners are regularly beaten up. In the United States of America, prisoners are regularly beaten up and killed. We've just had a case here in the United Kingdom where a child abuser was who was vulnerable because he was a child abuser, was just killed by 2 inmates. Now, obviously, the authorities will say, "Oh, we didn't know about this," but they've allowed it to happen. So the actual case in Israel about the Palestinian prisoners being abused, if indeed they were, will go through the normal procedures. Now, the lady in question had the highest rank in the judiciary. So if she did indeed leak a video which allegedly would jeopardize the case, both from the prosecution and the defender's point of view, then and this was obviously, she admitted it, then she did the right thing to resign. I have to say, she wasn't sacked because the defense minister who wanted to fire her doesn't have the power through the Israeli constitution to do that. That would have had to gone through a very specialized cabinet committee and judicial system. So she did resign. We don't yet understand what her motives were, if she did indeed release the video to the press, to the media. But I have an update on this story. Apparently, last night she was found wandering a beach in Tel Aviv, and she's been put into the care of the medical authorities for her own health. So clearly, there's something fundamentally going wrong with this particular lady and whatever issues she's facing. But as I say, I think in this particular case, she's jeopardized a legal process, and in her position, she, of all people, should have known better not to do this. Maybe it was designed to embarrass the authorities, maybe it was designed to embarrass someone who there was a power play with. We don't know her motives for doing it, but nevertheless, the Israeli judicial system will go through this. We've had a case before in Israel where indeed a member of the Israeli Defense Forces was in fact jailed for a number of years for abusing a Palestinian prisoner. So if only the other Arab countries would do the same for their political prisoners, what a happier world we would all be living in. But unfortunately, that's not the case. And Israel is demonized for going through the correct process. Absolutely absurd.
Speaking of the process itself, many have pointed out that such cases, they take a long time for the hearings to take place and the sentencing to take place, and justice is often delayed. In that context, many are asking why go after the whistleblower before the soldiers who allegedly committed the offense? How would you respond?
Oh, well, justice does take a long time. In the UK, it's taken 25 years for British Pakistani Muslim child rapists to be brought to justice. 25 years. In Arab countries, there's hardly any justice. So the fact that it's delayed, I think, so what? It's delayed. That's the way the judicial process knows. Anyone who's been through the judicial process in the United Kingdom will know that from cradle to grave, even on the most minor offences, things take a long time. We've had a case recently of 2 British Pakistani men on video violently abusing 2 police women, and that happened over a year ago, and still they have not been sentenced. So the fact that Israel's judicial system is exactly the same as other judicial systems in Western democracies, and for any news channel to criticise that is frankly an absurdity.
Indeed, with that, sir, I'd like to thank you for taking out time sharing your perspective on this rather sensitive matter. Viewers, we're shifting focus to more news coming in. We're now learning that China has denied allegations by US President Donald Trump that it has been secretly conducting underground nuclear weapons tests. Speaking in Beijing, a Foreign Ministry spokesperson, Mao Ning, has reaffirmed that China has consistently followed a policy of peaceful development, no first use of nuclear weapons, and strict adherence to its suspension of nuclear testing. Listen in to the statement.
作为安理会常任理事国和负责任的核武器国家，中国始终坚持走和平发展道路，奉行不首先使用核武器的政策，坚持自卫防御的核战略，恪守暂停核试验的承诺。我们愿意同各方一道，共同维护全面禁止核试验条约的权威，维护国际核裁军和核不扩散体系。我们希望美方也能够切实遵守全面禁止核试验条约的义务和暂停核试验的承诺，以实际行动维护国际核裁军和核不扩散体系，维护全球的战略平衡。
The response has come after Trump claimed in an interview that countries including Russia, China, North Korea and Pakistan have carried out unreported nuclear tests and that the United States would resume testing as well. Meanwhile, US Energy Secretary Chris Wright has clarified that any potential US tests would be non-critical system checks, not nuclear explosions. The United States remains a signatory to the 1996 Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty. However, it's not ratified this. This treaty, of course, prohibits all atomic test detonations. With us on the broadcast is Mr. Andrew K.P. Leung. He's a strategist focusing on Chinese policy and economy, joining us from London. Thank you so much for taking out time and speaking to us on NewsX World. Interestingly, when being questioned, Donald Trump was, of course, pointed out the difference between testing of nuclear weapons itself versus the delivery systems, tests of which we've seen recently being conducted by the Russians. They've tested their nuclear-powered Burevestnik missile systems. This, of course, did prompt a response from Russia as well, which had made this distinction very clear in the aftermath of Donald Trump's very lengthy Truth Social post. In this context, what do you make of China's statement? It's, of course, once again come out and stated that it has a no first use policy. It's a responsible nuclear weapons state and it is abiding by its commitment to suspending nuclear testing.
Well, first of all, I need to correct your opening statement that I'm speaking in London. I'm based in Hong Kong, so I'm speaking to you in Hong Kong. Okay. Now, as far as the nuclear testing is concerned, there is a great deal of misunderstanding and obfuscation, deliberately or otherwise. It all started with the Russia claiming to test a nuclear-capable drone. Which is driven by nuclear power and claim it cannot be detected. And that set off an alarm bells in Washington and Trump rapidly saying that, okay, I mean, if Russia is doing it, America would do it as well. But it is not about the nuclear warhead explosions. I mean, let's face it, the modern nuclear warheads, they are multiple times more powerful than those dropped in Nagasaki and Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And then as far as stockpile of nuclear warheads are concerned, Russia has about over 4,000. The United States about nearly 4,000, maybe 3,800. China's below 1,000, yes. Maybe about 800. But all these warheads can destroy the world multiple times over. No, it's no point testing even more powerful warheads. So the testing we're talking about is really a nuclear power. It's the propelling system of the underwater drones or other weapons. I think that this is what President Trump is referring to, but there is a great deal of obfuscation. And the latest claim that China is doing it is, again, a bit nonsensical. As I said, I mean, there is no point for any country with the stockpiles to test the power of nuclear warheads, because they are multiple times more destructive than those dropped in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So, but as far as the testing of delivery systems are concerned, yes, there's many countries are testing their delivery systems. Hypersonic weapons, for example, is a delivery system, but underwater drones, of course, is an other delivery system. But I think there is no doubt that China is not testing nuclear warheads as far as explosive explosions are concerned, because it doesn't make sense.
Absolutely, and the Chinese have come out and denied Donald Trump's claims. But on the other hand, there are some people who are arguing that what Trump is doing is mere posturing, it's mere signaling. But does this then have the potential to resurrect a nuclear arms race?
Well, I think that this is likely to be a diversion tactics, because as soon as President Trump said that he's going to test nuclear powers again, it set off alarm bells all over the world. So I think that by accusing, by falsely pointing the finger at China and other countries, is now one of his favorite narrative tactics, controlling the narrative and divert it in a different way. But as Russia is testing a new delivering system, it's understandable that the United States is going to test maybe a counterbalancing delivering system. But it doesn't mean that neither either Russia or the United States is going to test the explosion of nuclear warheads, because, as I said, they are already multiple times more powerful, and each country has got thousands of these warheads capable of destroying the world multiple times over. So I think that as I said, I mean, there is a great deal of misunderstanding and obfuscation of this narrative.
Absolutely, sir. With that, I would like to thank you for taking out time, of course, sharing your analysis with us on NewsX World. On that note, viewers, we're shifting focus to some rather tragic news coming in from Afghanistan. We're learning that a 6.3 magnitude earthquake has struck northern Afghanistan, killing at least 20 people and injuring over 300. The US Geological Survey has reported that the earthquake hit at a depth of 28 kilometers near Mazar-e-Sharif in the Balkh province, which has a population of a little more than 500,000. National Disaster Management Authority has reported that majority of the deaths have occurred in the Balkh and the neighboring province of Samangan. Afghanistan is especially vulnerable to earthquakes as the country is located on two major active faults that have the potential to rupture and cause extensive damage. Listen in to what some of the residents have had to say.
حالی ساعت 1 بجه شروع شده بود. بسیار تکان شدید داد که حتی ما دروازه را باز کرده نتونستیم سه پیره. همین قلفه که دروازه را که باز میکردیم ما را گرفت و طرف انداخت. دیگه حدودی 15 ثانیه خب تکان شدید داد. دیگه برآمدیم که بیرون خاک است، چنگ است، هیچ معلوم نمیشد. یک والده ما اینجا زیر چوب و دستک شده بود، دیگه یک برادر ما در زیر مانده بود. با کمک همین اهالی قریه، جوانای همین شهر منطقه ما همون را نجات دادیم فضل خدا.
ینگیم اونا در داخل خانه بود، آره کشیدم و یک نفری ما گم است. خیلی پالیدم نیافتم. با سعی کردیم در زیر خانه مانده، بیچاره و شهید شده بود. تازه عروسی هم کرده بودک.
Joining us on the broadcast at the moment is Vibhuti Rai. He's a geologist from Lucknow in India. Thank you so much for taking our time and speaking to us on NewsX World. As I mentioned earlier, the location of this particular earthquake, Mazar-e-Sharif in northern Afghanistan, it lies on two fault lines. How does this then exacerbate the impact, the sort of death toll that we see? Because last time around as well, when an earthquake took place in late August, there were around 2,200 or so people who'd lost their lives.
Yeah, this particular earthquake today actually occurred in the early morning when most of the people are sleeping, and is close to a very congested area of the fifth largest city of Mazar-e-Sharif. So technically it was at the worst place to have happened, As we have just heard, about 20 people have died and more than about 530 people have been injured seriously. So this fault line they are running east-west. They are very close to the border with Tajikistan. And most of the electricity lines have been disrupted because the focus of the earthquake was about 28 kilometers below the ground. So it was actually a deep-seated earthquake, and that's why a lot of energy, seismic energy has emerged. And being close to a populated area, it has a lot of impact. Actually, these fault lines which are running east-west, most of this area in the Hindu Kush mountains northern side, this Hindu Kush mountain itself has arisen because of this tectonic setting. So tectonically, it is very, very highly active area. And as we have been seeing in the last 3-4 months, across the Asian continent as well as in the Pacific, lot of seismic activity is taking place. So at times it happens for few years, there is highly seismic activity which is affecting the area. Now, since this is almost in the midst of the land, so it has much more impact. The tectonic condition is not going to change. So we have to ensure that in Afghanistan, especially in these fault zone affected areas, there is preparations, there is early warning system established by international agencies, and that should prevent and at least have some kind of connectivity, because out of it's a very sparse area. Afghanistan is a big country, but few areas like Kabul and Mazar-e-Sharif, etc., they are populated ones. So for such areas, preparedness should be there. I think international agencies are going to take cognizance of it, and detailed geological mapping is required. As I was going through the documents, it's not much there. So the seismically active zones are to be identified, and based on that, preparatory work is to be done with the international agencies.
Indeed, and speaking of the terrain as well, considering the very rugged, difficult terrain, how does that sort of hinder the rescue relief operations?
As I said, it's very close to Hindu Kush mountain. So it's a mountainous area. And then there are a few rivers which are very close to Mazar-e-Sharif, passing east-west along these fault lines itself. So there is a lot of undulation, high to very steeply dipping mountains are there in the vicinity. So providing relief to, I have not much idea what is the road connections in the area, but it seems it's not much. So connectivity might be a big problem. Then from Tajikistan, they are getting most of the electricity in the northern part of Afghanistan. So since electricity has been disrupted, so in rescue efforts, it might create some kind of problems. But I'm sure all the neighboring countries, including India and others nearby, would be coming out with the relief for this earthquake stuck area for people of the region. And that's how it's going to be taken care of. Unlike the August earthquake, which was smaller than this magnitude, it was 6 only, but more than 2,000 people have been killed because again, it was the area where a lot of kacha houses or mud houses that they were there. So they have all trampled down, and that has created problem. Mazar-e-Sharif is a relatively established area. There used to be a blue mosque, which was a very important Shia shrine. I've just read in the news that part of it has also fallen down. So the impact is certainly very, very huge and close to the vicinity. It's in the north of Kabul and southeast of the epicenter is southeast of Mazar-e-Sharif. So there we have few fault lines, and that has created the problem.
All right, so with that, I'd like to thank you for taking out time explaining this delicate situation to our viewers. We're tracking more updates, this time coming in from the Kamchatka Peninsula. We're now learning that a strong earthquake has struck the southeast coast of Russia's Kamchatka region. According to U.S. Geological Survey reports, the quake measured 5.8 in magnitude and it struck at a depth of about 24 kilometers below the Earth's surface. The region is known for high seismic activity and has experienced several strong quakes this year itself. Earlier in September, a 7.4 magnitude earthquake struck off the coast of Kamchatka. The U.S. Geological Survey had earlier stated that the September quake occurred 111 kilometers east of Petropavlovsk, Kamchatsky, and at a depth of 39 kilometers. Meanwhile, earlier, even in July, another powerful quake had hit the peninsula, which had triggered tsunamis up to 4 meters high and prompted evacuations as far as Hawaii and Japan. Since then, authorities have been closely monitoring seismic activity in the region. More news coming in. U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has arrived in South Korea. The visit is aimed at the involvement of Washington's goal of reshaping the role of U.S. troops in Korea. Pete Hegseth is visiting the demilitarized zone between North and South Korea. Hegseth and South Korean Defense Minister An Gyu-bak are also scheduled to hold an annual defense dialogue called the Security Consultative Meeting during his visit. As per reports, the two sides will chart the course of their military alliance and South Korea's defense against nuclear-armed North Korea. Hegseth is also scheduled to visit the Panmunjom Truce village at the DMZ, accompanied by South Korea's An. Reports suggest that Washington is considering making the role of 28,500 U.S. troops in South Korea more flexible, with an eye on maintaining the balance of power in Asia amid concerns about Chinese activities in the South China Sea and around Taiwan. Well, viewers, that's all the time we have for now. More news and updates on the other side. Stay tuned on NewsX World.